Lightning like Steve McQueen. I'm in the fast lane when the light turns green. And I built tough, I ain't nothing but grit. Cause I made rugged blood, sweat, and spit. Yeah, like a horse I fly. Better push yourself in for a bumpy ride. I like to play hard, but I work harder. And I weather the storm cause I'm built stronger.
Hey guys, before we jump into the episode, I wanted to let you know it is brought to you by Denim. As a business owner myself, I personally know the importance of financial stability and preserving cash flow to help navigate through any freight market. With Denim's comprehensive service offering, you now have an all-in-one financial partner whose platform includes factoring, payments, freight audit, document collection management, and analytics, which help keep your business financially healthy and increase your team's time to focus on revenue-producing activities. You can also take advantage of Denim's free credit check, which they perform on all of your customers. And Denim will proactively reach out to you if they spot any signs of credit deterioration. Finally, Denim always pays your carriers first. As a broker, this is imperative to preserving your credit score in the market, which ultimately helps you become a broker of choice to your carrier partners. Are you ready to learn more? Visit denim.com to schedule a demo today. Just do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. This episode is brought to you by SPI Logistics, the premier freight agent logistics firm in North America. For over 40 years, SPI has been diligently building the most successful freight agent network to provide first-class relationships for our shippers, receivers, and carrier partners. We are more than another transportation network. We are a dedicated team of professionals united by one singular purpose, and that is to expedite our agents' success. All of our agents are set up for success on day one, as they are provided with a full suite of support staff that is ready to assist them with everything from after-hours emergencies to financial and administrative needs on a no-fee basis. This way, you can focus on continuing to grow your business. There is no financial risk to start, and you have the ability to earn up to 75% in commissions. If you are looking to take control of your financial future and build your business with the backing of one of the most successful logistics firms in North America, visit www.spi3pl.com to learn more. Do me a favor and let them know that the Freight Coach sent you. What is up, ladies and gentlemen? We are back. We are live. It is the Freight Coach podcast, the top podcast in transportation, coming to you guys every single weekday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific, 10:30 Central, to break down some industry information. You guys break down some topics, but rest assured, you guys, I only speak with transportation professionals because I want to talk to the individuals out there, you guys who have done what you're looking to do or who are currently doing what you're trying to achieve. Because at the end of the day, you guys, I want to give you information that you can apply, utilize, and see a meaningful difference in your business and your life. You guys know the routine. I know you guys are going to get value on this one, but share the show, you guys. Subscribe to it, get it out there, you guys. But with that being said, I don't want to waste any more time because I got a very special guest for you guys here today. He is the prospect. He is the individual that we're all cold calling, and not him in particular, but people like him. And we're going to talk about the sales process today and everything, and give you guys some information that you can apply to your business right now from a business development perspective. So I got my good friend, John Brewer, back on the show. John, thank you so much for joining me.
Appreciate you having me on, Chris. It's been a minute, and I've always loved chatting with you. And I actually learn things just as much as I give out information too. So it's a win-win.
No, man, and that's the beauty of content. That's the beauty of podcasting and everything here, because there's so much information that's out there, and sometimes you just need a fresh perspective on things to help you think of things in a whole new light, and hopefully be able to use that for a benefit in your business and everything.
Absolutely, 100%. And ever since the beginning of COVID, I've been reaching. I've had people reach out to me. I've been on podcasts. And trying to share that shipper's perspective, because a lot of shippers keep that kind of close to the vest, but to give them that insight so that, the reps out there can be better and more successful at what they do.
Yeah. And I think that's kind of the whole thing. Cause, I've been very fortunate to meet a lot of shippers through podcasting, and they've all came on and given out advice for people to apply onto their business. And, again, I always like to preface any shipper show with this. This isn't an open invite for the people who are listening to this to go blow up John's DMs with solicitations and everything else. But this is a way for you guys to take this information and apply it to your current prospects and everything else. Because one thing I've noticed in my career, sales is the same across the board, right? I personally think sales is a system that you can apply in any industry. And, from my standpoint, because, like I cold call every single day, right? I send out cold call. I do cold emails every single day. I make cold calls every single day. And, it's a drawn out process. And especially right now, like this is probably the longest sales cycle I've ever been a part of for a lot of my prospects. And, because people don't need you, like they don't, there's not a shortage of opportunities that come their way from their transportation providers. And you need to really be committed to the long term in these times.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Once COVID hit, I mean, it changed the whole landscape out there. It went from really, really crazy one direction to really, really crazy the other direction. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I always tell people this is a very cyclical business. And usually before COVID, the cycles were turning about every 12 to 18 months. And now it's pushed out to 24 to 36, maybe even longer. So it's even myself, the veteran that I am, I'm in swimming uncharted waters. It's bizarre. I've never seen this in my entire career.
Yeah. And because it's like I feel the same way, man. I think that one thing I've noticed from, the business that we've developed here over, these last couple of years is it might take, 90 to 120 days to get to the onboarding. And then it might take another 90 to 120 days to win the first shipment. Where in years past, it was, it might have taken you 90 days to onboard somebody, but you would almost get a prove it shipment right away.
Right.
That's gone. Now it's, depending on the style of customer, right? But, for the most, not everybody out there is an RFP shipper, but, for the ones that do onboard you like that don't operate in an RFP, I've seen that where, you can onboard somebody, it might take 3 to 6 months to onboard them. And then it might take another 3 to 6 months before you even win your first shipment. And you might be bidding out 20, 30 loads a week. And you're still coming up short and everything because, it's just that priority list where, everybody who you're competing against might have been working with this shipper for the last 10 years or the last 5 years. And you're fighting against that now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So with that being said, John, how can somebody add value in the prospecting phase, knowing that it's going to take as long as it is? Like what's the right way to kind of follow up with, say, somebody like you who might operate in an RFP that you're not adding anybody for the next 12 months minimum? How can I or anybody out there with any of their prospects who might be in this situation reach out to you in a timely manner that's not bombarding you?
That is an excellent question. I do get bombarded from time to time. I typically, if somebody reaches out to me, number one, I'm going to be straight up with them and say, hey, I don't have anything right now. I'll either give them, a timeline of reach back out to me in 6 months because I'll have an RFP coming. Or if it's still uncertain, if it's still not defined, I may ask them to reach out to me about every 30 days just to shoot me an email just to stay on top of the radar because shippers get pounded left and right. You got limited time and everybody wants a piece of it. So obviously, if it's a good carrier or a good broker and you really want to see if you can find a business fit, you want them to be top of mind with you pretty often. And the month long, doing it the monthly cadence. I think number one, it doesn't bombard me with emails. It doesn't become annoying.
Mm-hmm.
And then, as you get down the line and you start to see stuff firm up to where you may need to do a mini RFP or something, if you have a project coming, it still keeps them in the mix. So you don't forget about them as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's that's one thing that we really try and do our best. Where I have a rule where because I have some prospects that I've been reaching out to now for 16, 17 months and I haven't heard anything back, but they haven't blocked me either. So I'm assuming that I'm in their good graces or they just instantly delete. I'm in that mass email that they just instantly delete right away. But it's essentially an every 3-week rule, John, where we're kind of dropping in every 3 weeks. And a lot of it to me I've never once reached out to these prospects and like, hey, add me to your list, let me bid on your freight. It's more of like I'm trying to highlight what I think are our top service offerings out there, like how we operate. I want to kind of put that out there to our prospects. So, they have an idea, because I think like the worst approach that a lot of people go in is like, hey, add me to your RFP. Hey, let me start bidding on your freight right away. And I want to more like, hey, we've taken our time, we know that you're building materials, right? So everything you do is flatbed. And we'll talk about how we work with our other flatbed shippers and kind of walk through that process out there. That's something that we personally apply, because I feel like it's anybody can say that we're the best at everything, but I want to show my prospects in a way where it's like, hey, this is who we are. This is what we do.
Absolutely. And one of the things that I do personally is if a broker or carrier does something like you just mentioned, I actually have a folder on my email, and I'm like, hey, I don't need this service right now, but it may come in handy down the road. There may be an application that be worth reaching out to you. And if I know what you're doing and I know where your strengths are, it's my job to kind of I tell people to put the right player in the right position at the right time.
Yeah.
That's a trans manager or a logistics manager's responsibility, and not just to sit here and throw RFP after RFP after RFP. It's kind of like the old spray and pray on the sales side. We shouldn't be doing it either. So, if you have something, one of the things that I looked at, just an example, is I have, from time to time, I have expedited shipments that need to be refrigerated or frozen. And so if I get a provider that says, hey, we specialize in reefer sprinter vans, well, I'm going to put them in a folder, because I know sooner or later I'm going to need a reefer sprinter van. Mm-hmm. And I'm going to pick up the phone and call them. And to your point, if you put all that data, be succinct, obviously, but if you put all that data in an email, then I'm going to use that kind of like a playing card that I may need that ace in the back pocket down the road somewhere. And then if I do, I got it handy right there for me.
So with somebody like you who has multiple facilities out there, would you recommend, because we prospect people as well as everybody who's listening to this show that have, say 10 facilities nationwide. Do you think it would be beneficial to choose the one facility that they know that they could be strong out of and then focus on that? Or is it, hey, we see you have these 8 facilities, and then like talk about how you can just kind of handle all of that freight?
Right. That goes for, not only facilities, but also for lanes and geography. Mm-hmm. I want you to handle the lanes or the facilities that best fit your wheelhouse, because you're going to be, your service level is going to be there. Your pricing is going to be there. That's your bread and butter. You've done it 100 days, for 100 years. Your stuff. And then again, going back to kind of that trans logistics manager role, it's my job to find those little, what I would call niche players, and patchwork them together against my supply chain so that I have good service level providers with sustainable capacity and sustainable rates in each of those areas that I can lean on. You're basically, what you're doing is I equate it to building the dream team. Mm-hmm. You want the best out there so that, your customers get their freight. Everybody's working in tune. Everybody knows everybody. So I literally tell carriers and brokers, especially, that if there's a lane on there that you're not successful with, or it's hit and miss, don't bid on it. Just leave it blank. And that's not going to prevent you from any future business. That's just going to let me know it's better for you to do that than to take that load or try to service that facility and screw it up.
Yeah. No, I think those are great points, right? And again, like that's just where I've found the most success from a business development standpoint, John, is taking that approach. And now, again, you guys, I want to be abundantly clear. This isn't the magic formula for everybody, because just because John wants it done this way, or some of my shippers want it done this way, I've also heard the inverse of that, where they're like, if you can't do everything for us, we don't want to talk to you, or they just don't care. right? Because they don't need you at that moment. But I've just found that, holding myself to that system has worked out more beneficial for me in the long term, because there's, one of my shippers, they got like 15 facilities nationwide, but they're like, hey, we know you're good on the West Coast. We want you to just focus on our West Coast facilities, and that's it. And I was like, me naturally, I'm like, well, what about your East Coast facilities? And they're like, in due time, just start with the West Coast. And then, you kind of graduate and grow up from there. But, a lot of the business development calls that I'm making right now, say if they're in Florida, for example, we know one of our customers runs the Eastern Seaboard, right? So it's Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, down to Florida. Those are the lanes that we really focus on. And when I'm calling people, it's, hey, here's who I am. This is our specialization. These are the lanes that we're currently working with our current customers, and we're trying to find additional freight to match up with our carriers. And, I work with that, and it has worked for long term. And I think like it's a complete plug and play perspective here, John, because there's going to be people who just do reefer freight. There's going to be people who just do dry van freight. And it's the terminology is the same across the board. And I just think that where you get yourself in trouble is if they were to solicit your business and go in there and just tell you like, hey, John, give me everything. We're the best at everything. We can do dry van, reefer, sprinter, LTL, you name it. Just give us everything. I think that's where people find themselves in trouble.
Yeah, that's just a simple common sense thing for me. Even if you were that utopian broker or utopian carrier and could do everything and maybe even do it well, I'm not putting all my eggs in one basket, and I'm not betting on just one horse in the race.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take that business of mine and I'm going to spread it around so that everybody gets enough food. They're not starving, and kind of hash it out that way. But if somebody comes into my office and starts telling me, hey, I'm great at everything, I've been around long enough to know, no, you're not.
Yeah.
There's something there that you're not good at, or you're halfway good at, but you're not great at everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that usually makes the hair on the back of my neck start to stand up, and that can probably impact the amount of revenue or amount of sales that carrier or broker is going to get from me, because nobody's good at everything.
Yeah, I agree. Right. And I know that obviously there's some organizations that are large enough that have just LTL people and just drayage people and just reefer people, but like, I think that's not everybody. That's actually the minority in this industry. The overwhelming majority of people are small to mid-size, and you're kind of dabbling in everything. And I think that, really choosing down on that specialization. And a lot of it is when you're just getting started out and when you're building things up, how you might not know where to go, and you might not know what direction to kind of handle. And that's why I always tell people, choose one thing, own your backyard. I'm here in Phoenix. If I was just starting in freight today, I would choose one thing and I would just hammer the Phoenix market and just go with that and then build up from there. I don't want to confuse people, but it's like, I've been doing this for a long time. So it's like, I feel very confident doing full truckload, drive-in, reefer, open deck, over-dimensional, stuff like that, because I've done it at a high volume. But I think a lot of individuals, when you're starting out, you got to build up that specialization, and then you can kind of expand out from there. But I think, like, what are your thoughts on this, John? Say a provider gets in the door, and they're regional for you. They're in the Southeast, they're reefer, but they want to expand out to maybe doing some LTL for you, or maybe go into the Northeast for you. How do they stand out as a provider to kind of get that, move up that totem pole?
Well, it's typically, obviously I will preach to the day I retire or die, whichever comes first, that this is a very relational business. And that relational business is built on trust, and trust is built by doing what you say you're going to do. So if this provider has been in the fold for a while and they're really successful with what they're doing, let's just say reefer in the Southeast, and they come to me and say, hey, John, we kind of want to expand, and we've been with you a few years, and, we've taken good care of your business, then we can have some conversations and run some test shipments. I'm willing to take a chance if you've proven yourself to me. I'm not going to give you every reefer LTL shipment I have, but it's that crawl, walk, run routine. And if you have these long-standing relationships that have traversed over the years, projects come across my desk all the time. Different things. We're doing this different. We're doing that different. And if I think that you might be a fit, you may be getting a phone call from me and say, "Hey, I've got this project. I think you might be a fit. Come take a look at it, and let's have a dialogue on it, and see if it's a fit. And if it is, that's great. If it's not, we'll look at something else." But still, a firm believer, you reward good service. Okay, you always reward good service. If somebody's in here and they're taking care of you and they're doing everything, they're dotting all the I's, crossing all the T's, service is great, rates are fair. Then you want to grow that relationship and you want to grow that business because it just makes sense. They've proven themselves. They're a good player for you, and you want to continue to help them be successful, just like they're continuing to help you be successful.
Is it more important for them to show up when things are falling apart as opposed to when things are going right? And I'm saying that because I've personally experienced that when we're going through challenging times with a shipment or, a couple of orders, that what saves us is how we operate in those times. It's like, that's when I've actually moved up with customers, is how we handle issues. What are your thoughts on that? Is that a way to where it's like, it's almost more important to show up during those times than when things are going right? Because when things are going right, that's kind of your job. That's the expectation.
Yeah, absolutely. My previous job, I had a carrier up in New England. I talked to him once a year, if you can believe that. And he hauled freight for me on a weekly basis.
Wow.
But he always had good service. He always had good rates. He never caused any issues. And honestly, the only reason why I called him once a year was just to see if he was still alive.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, a shipper's time is everybody's wanting a piece of. And I mean, the teams that I work on that work with me, I have very small teams, and we're in triage for most of the work day. So I'm not going to be making arbitrary phone calls or taking arbitrary phone calls when things are going good. Now, when the fit hits the shan, yeah, then you're going to get a phone call.
Yeah. Yeah. I've just kind of found that where I would rather just rip the Band-Aid off. And, like, I've just found, I guess, that more times than not, the solution is all that the customer's looking for in that moment. It's not the fact that something happened, because if you've been doing this job for longer than a day, you understand that there's going to be delays, there's going to be breakdowns, there's going to be shipments are going to be loaded wrong, the driver's going to have to return. There's a bunch of stuff. You just need to actually be decisive in those moments and make a call and provide a solution. Fortunately, unfortunately, I've been in a lot of predicaments in my career, John, and I know how to handle a lot of these situations. And I've just found that, you need to be decisive. You need to come to a solution right away. But most importantly, I think you need to, I had another good friend of mine who's a shipper on the show, and he told me this, and this has stuck with me. Don't ever take my ability to do my job away from me, and you not communicating with me takes my ability to do my job away from me.
Absolutely. And I think not only the solution is important, but I think the commitment to accountability is important. I think, if let's say you stubbed your toe on a shipment, then number one, you need to effectively communicate. Absolutely. I don't want my customers telling me you're late. I want you telling me you're late. And then number two, to your point, have that solution. But, and number three, just, don't walk away when the plane's going down. Stick with it, be a partner. Let's clean up the mess. I'm willing to help, my brokers and carriers or even my distributors clean up a mess, even if I didn't do it. Because it ultimately affects my customer service to my internal and external customers. And I'm willing to help. So I would rather you call me up, say, hey, this happened. Here's our solution. What do you think? Or this happened. Is there something you can do on your side to, get us back in or whatever? I can work with that. I can work with that all day long. And you're 100% right. Everything is not going to be perfect all the time. And I've been in the industry long enough to know I've seen some pretty crazy crap. So You just the stories would just make your eyes roll. You'd think I was just BSing because the truth is stranger than fiction. So I've seen a lot, I've heard a lot, but having that kind of that spirit of partnering, and I'm not going to yell and scream at you if you screw up. Now, if you screw up 9 loads out of 10, then we've got a problem. But I know everybody has a bad week or a bad day. If you start having bad months or bad years, then you're probably not long for my world. Yeah. But I'm willing to work with that, and I'm willing to have those conversations, and I'm not going to be yelling and screaming and hollering because that doesn't solve anything.
Yeah.
A level head is going to rule the day, and I'm say, okay, what happened, and what's your solution if you have one, or what do you need me to do, and work through it, because you're exactly right. I mean, if supply chain worked 100% perfect 100% of the time, all of us would be unemployed.
Correct. 100% agree. 100% agree.
So
I was going to say, John, I wanted to, because I got a lot of owner ops and drivers who tune into this. What could an owner op do to get into like an RFP? Because I know there's the local shippers and stuff like that, but how can an owner op get into something like that, or even how could they find dedicated freight for themselves?
Ooh, that's a calculus question. So let me ask some clarifying there. Is the owner op just one truck, or could it be a fleet of trucks?
Yeah,
it's one truck.
One truck operation. The guy's based in Nashville, and he likes to run, down to Dallas, Texas, and back only.
He or she, I would recommend they try to gravitate to the lower volume shippers.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you deal with somebody such as myself, or at Walmart, or whoever, they're moving so much magnitude of volume that an owner operator is just going to drown.
Mm-hmm.
I can't as a trans logistics manager, I can't place, I can't get down to that granular of a level with my freight, But if you get a smaller shipper who's, maybe they're moving one load from Nashville to Dallas a week, or maybe they're moving 2 or 3, and they're small enough that they really want that service, which I do believe an owner op would bring, because you're his or her bread and butter, and they want to keep the lane, obviously, because it's what they like to do. So I think in the lower volume shippers world, they don't want to be a number. Okay. Mm-hmm. They want to be, Joe or Bob or Sue or whoever, and they want to have somebody who can work with them. But if you wanted my advice on it, I would say go down to the smaller end of the spectrum and try to match there.
So how would what are some sales tips for the drivers out there, the one truck owner operators? What would you, from your perspective, want to see if you were in charge of that facility in Nashville that had 3 weekly shipments to Dallas? What would you want to see from that owner op?
That's a good question too. Obviously, I can tell you just on my shipments, I would need to see, their insurance qualifications, some of that liability mitigation documentation that they need, just to have a comfort level, because, and I'm speaking for me alone, but when a one truck show comes up to me, and I'm starting to get a little nervous, because, people, they're not a Swift, or they're not a Hunt, or they're not a Averitt Express or anything. They're just, I'm Bob, truck driver. So you kind of have to allay those fears. Is this guy going to drive off and take my freight, and not come back? So you kind of have to put them at ease, and put them, have all your ducks in a row, have all your paperwork, all your documentation, and be able to share that with them. And then again, I'm going to go right back to building that relationship. Maybe you come over to the office a couple times a week for a few weeks, and just sit down and talk and say, hey, here's what I'm trying to do. Is this is this a fit for you? And work on that. And then, just it's going to be a challenge. I'm not going to lie to you. It's just straight up going to be a challenge.
Yeah.
I think the smallest company I've ever worked with had 6 trucks.
Okay.
So the singles are going to be tough, but
Yeah.
especially getting that dedicated lane that you want.
Mm-hmm.
And, you're going to have to do a lot to give them kind of what I'd call the warm fuzzy.
Yeah. No, I gotcha. I think that, that's good information for people, to hear, because I think anybody, when they're trying to get their start in business, I mean, everybody has these visions of grandeur, right? Like, it's just you're going to get all this freight, you're going to make all this money, and everything's going to be all right. But it's just not as easy as that. And you really need to have a plan, I think, right? Like, ultimately, you need to have a plan, and show what your business is capable of, right? Like, you brought up insurance and everything else. I would put together a PDF file that has all of that stuff in it, that,
Right.
hey, here's who we are. This is what we have. This is where we like to run. And, again, like, you can just get an Adobe Premiere account and build one on your own if you can't afford to have somebody do it for you for a fairly reasonable price, and then print that off and then just go drop off and shake hands. Like,
Exactly.
I'm going to be honest, John, that's one of the best things for business development that we do personally inside of my company, is just call local places and shake hands.
Absolutely.
It's the best one. Does it lead to instant business? Absolutely not. But I personally feel, my philosophy is this: when they need somebody, they're going to remember the person who showed up to
That's
them
right.
than all the other emails and phone calls that they've gotten.
Absolutely. Again, going right back to that relational business.
Yep.
You shake your hand, you give your word, you do what you say you're going to do, you build that trust, whether that be through that documentation that you mentioned, or whether it be for you showing up and saying, "Hi, I'm Bob, and I want to talk to you." All that plays into it and will better your chances. Absolutely. 100%.
John, I appreciate it, man. We're at the 30-minute mark. I know you got a job to do, just like everybody else has a job to get back. Well, at least they're gonna try and work on Friday afternoon. But yeah, man, I appreciate you guys, and I thank you for showing up today and just answering these questions from a shipper's perspective. Because again, you guys, John is everybody's target market. All right, I would be hard pressed to meet a shipper out there that doesn't think like John when it comes down to the selection of their providers, that process and everything else, you guys. So take this information and apply it to your business, and please don't overly blow up John's DMs, because I want to have him come back on at some point in time, you guys. So John, thank you so much for joining me. We'll be back on Monday, you guys. We got guests coming on next week as well. As always, if you guys got value in what you heard, subscribe to the show, you guys. Share it out there to your network, because if you see value, your network's going to see value as well. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys.
Appreciate it, Chris. Have a good weekend.
You too, John. Thank you.